The Alt Fantasy Sports Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost. Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to get started today. And we're back after a hiatus. We're excited to be back. I'm Adam Pelletier, and joining me, as always, is your favorite Badger, JMark. Justin, welcome. How you doing today?
Going to Wisconsin, huh? Now you're the one that was eating the cheese curds. Are you sure you're not the Badger?
Delicious cheese curds. Delicious cheese curds, Justin. You know how they do up there in Wisconsin. You're very familiar with it. You're a Culver's fanatic. We all know it.
So Wisconsin's probably the worst because that's close to the Packers. So don't do that.
You love Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, though.
I love that Jordan Love is their starting quarterback.
So, Justin, we're talking USFL football. We were talking a little bit before we came on. Letdown week for the offenses in the USFL this weekend.
Yeah, we had one offense in the Stallions that looked competent, and then a bunch of, pardon my language, shit shows. I mean, they did not look good, and it was all defense.
I mean, as I look at it, I just, I keep thinking over and over, and I've thought this all year. I think there's a lack of high-level receivers on the outside.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the USFL is hurting right now. I think they don't have guys who can win on the outside and can't stretch a field. Or maybe they do and they don't have quarterbacks who can't get it down the field. I mean, I think the quarterback play has definitely taken a step back this year. I think they miss guys like Luis Perez and Jordan Ta'amu who played well. And the fact that their leading passer, Kyle Sloter, is currently the backup on one of these teams right now, says a lot about where the quarterback play is right now. And I don't know. And I say this, and I don't mean to say that I think the quality of play is worse. I think the defenses got better because the defenses stayed whole and the offenses got gutted by the XFL.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about the fact that there was a lot of retention for defense, and they've looked good. The defenses have looked good and improved, especially the Maulers, except for this week, of course.
I mean, the Maulers defense played fine. I mean, what are you going to do if your offense can't move the ball? I mean, I learned this with the Bills back during the drought. If your offense can't do anything, no matter how good your defense is, they can't stop them an entire game. And I think that's more what the Maulers ran into because, the Maulers just outside of a 16-point second quarter, 6 points the remainder of the way.
Yeah, true. I guess that's true. And they had Derek Dillon had that return for a touchdown. So I don't, that's not the defense's fault. That's the field goal kicking team's fault.
Yeah. I mean, missed a long field goal. And, Derek Dillon with a long return does a lot for his fantasy day. He had 3 catches for 61 yards, returned the touchdown, 109 yards. And then we saw Vinny Papel, Invincible Jr. getting involved, 3 for 40 in a touchdown. And Juwan Washington, solid day. We told you in the early season, get Juwan Washington on your fantasy roster for the USFL because there weren't playmakers in this Showboat's backfield.
Yeah, for sure. I also find it funny that you said Invincible Jr. That's exactly what I wrote down in my notes. So now I'm wondering if you have a camera here somewhere.
I do. It's part of the SGPN employment agreement. You give us access to all your cameras. And your boy, Cole Kelly.
Yeah.
Pedestrian at best.
Yeah. No, he was the best quarterback on the field, though. So he's got that going
for him. Was he?
I think so.
I mean, Troy Williams had himself a decent day, completed about 70% of his passes, threw for 145, 1 touchdown. Again, they weren't able to get anything going really on the ground. They were running Madre London, Bailey Gaither. They ran a ton of people, a lot of receiver work, and they just couldn't get anything going. And Isaiah Henney chalking up the yardage right now. Isaiah Henney, a nice piece for the Maulers, 8 for 103, but they just couldn't finish drives. They turned the ball over 3 times, and that was the difference.
Yeah, did Williams get hurt? Because I feel like James Morgan definitely was not an improvement when they threw him in.
I didn't see. I would imagine that's hurt.
Yeah, I would hope so, because you throw a guy in that then throws 2 interceptions of really bad looking throws that were both underthrown into more than double coverage. It's like, why is he on the field?
Yeah. Moving on to the next game, Birmingham Stallions, Michigan Panthers. You said this was the one offense that looked competent, and Alex Magoo, if I recall correctly, I believe Alex Magoo is currently leading the USFL in passing touchdowns right now, or passing yardage right now.
He added 2 passing touchdowns, had 82 rushing yards and a rush touchdown. He's kind of looking like he could be your fantasy football MVP, because he's the one quarterback that you can put out that's putting up decent numbers.
Yeah, I mean, that's just been huge. He's been consistent. He's been consistent with his production despite losing his best receiver. Birmingham did all of this with no receiver really blowing up. No one over 37 yards. But they got things going on the ground. CJ Maribel showed up 18 for 100.
Yeah, and he's continued to look very impressive as a starter. I didn't think he was a starter back. I thought he would be more of a complimentary back, but since he's had to be thrown in there, he's looked good.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that I'm kind of interested in right now is Zamir White, currently chilling. Wait, no, I'm thinking of the wrong guy. Sorry.
Zaquandre White.
Zaquandre White. I knew I was wrong. Zaquandre White on the Stallions. Been quietly productive, getting work, doing some stuff in the passing game. Nice little ad. Get Zaquandre White on your fantasy rosters today.
Yeah, they're definitely finding ways to get him involved, so I like that. And if you happen to be in an IDP league, I know there's probably not a lot out there, but Frank Ginda, 18 tackles. He had a day for Michigan on defense.
Tied the modern USFL record. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
Well done. Speaking of historic, excellent performances, Justin, have you signed up for Edge Boost yet? You're missing out.
No.
Why not? You're missing out. It's the world's first bet now, pay later Visa card. Similar to the buy now, pay later programs, Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest and pay back the advance over 4 equal weekly installments. That's right, 0% interest. Simply deposit funds into your account, and Edge Boost will match the deposit so you can use 2 times the fund on any legal sports betting site. Edge currently offers up to $2,500 in advances. To $2,500 you can add to your bankroll. My Edge Boost double down play of the day. I'm looking at these USFL slates for next weekend, and I know it's a little ways out, but I'm really in this weekend on the Maulers money line. I think they're going to do well. I think people are going to think they're down and out after getting shut out. But give me the Maulers money line this weekend, and I will double down play that all day. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to sign up today. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. Must be 21 or older to use. Only valid in legal gambling states. Problem gambling? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, I was thinking the Pitt money line as well. I like it.
Love it. Great minds think alike. And moving beyond Birmingham, we're on to the Breakers and the Stars. The Stars clinging to the top spot in the USFL North.
Yeah, and they can thank they finally had somewhat of a run game with Matt Colburn, but they can mainly thank their defense, who really showed up, and back-to-back losses.
Case Cookus ran for 43 yards, threw 2 picks too. I don't know what's going on there, but something's missing right now with the Stars, and I think it's still the offensive line.
100% agreed. Yeah, he was under pressure quite a bit. He continues to be under pressure, and he's no Brian Scott, so.
He's no Brian Scott. Justin, save it for the CFL portion, my friend. And on the other side of the ball, the Breakers, McLeod Bethel Thompson has really come back down to earth after a horrid start to the season. He has not looked the same the past couple weeks. I mean, what's going on with the Breakers offense, Justin?
They also look like they had offensive line issues. I don't know for sure if they've had injuries on there and some changes, but he was under pressure a lot as well. That Stars defense really showed up. I was encouraged to see Johnny Dixon come back from injury and get a touchdown. That was nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to see Dixon back. It might be offensive line issues because over the past couple weeks, his yards per attempt are on the downward trend. Early in the season, he was 7.4, 7.4, 10.1, 7.5. Last week, he was 5.9. This week, he was down to 5 yards an attempt. So usually when you see that yards per attempt start to take that step down, now might be a good time to try to sell on McLeod Bethel Thompson. Go get a guy, sure. See if you can maybe swing a trade for Case Cookis. I might even go James Morgan plus a little something. I don't know that the Breakers are going to get it together offensively in time to survive.
Agreed.
And Johnny Dixon and Jay Adams, start him. That's about it for the break. And Wes Hills continues to be an absolute stud, just absolute stud.
Yeah, he's been one of the biggest surprises for me this season. I didn't expect him to break off like he did.
I will say, though, Corey Coleman proving our NFL bounce back theorem incorrect. As we've said time and time again, with guys who are NFL bounce backs, you want to avoid them because they don't play as hard, they don't play as well. And Corey Coleman really proving us wrong. Justin, can Corey Coleman get an NFL shot?
I think so. I think he's in line to at least get another chance in the NFL. He's looked very good. I mean, he's been basically unstoppable, uncoverable, and Case Cook is his favorite target.
No, I mean, Cookis seems to go to him early and often. 8 targets again this weekend, for him. And as we're looking at it, and before this weekend, he had 24 catches on 39 targets. So now he's going to be over 30 catches. But the yardage totals are kind of clumped together in the USFL right now at the top of the leaderboards. And that's interesting that no one's really had a dominant breakout receiving season. And I think that's behind some of these down offensive numbers that we're seeing.
Yeah, makes sense.
So continuing on, the Houston Gamblers, who everybody thought were a write-off team at the start of the year, currently sitting in second in the South at 4-2. Justin, what'd you think of the Gamblers and the Generals?
Well, I think the Gamblers defense is looking really good again. I mean, they had a great defense last year, just couldn't get the offense completely clicking. And then I honestly think fantasy football USFL MVP right now, it's got to be Mark Thompson, right? I mean, ever since he came back, he has just been on fire.
He is tied for first in the league. I believe he's now passed. Did Wes Hills have a touchdown this weekend? Nope. So Mark Thompson sits atop the leaderboard at 9 touchdowns and now over 300 yards. Again, he's in the top 5 for rushing yards. Shockingly, Wes Hills, number 1, Alex Magoo, 3rd, Darius Victor, 2nd. So Mark Thompson in some good company there and just a battering ram at the goal line and just a 3-down workhorse back. Mark Thompson, another guy I think might get an NFL call at the end of this season.
I mean, he definitely should. Definitely should.
And then just on the receiving end for the Gamblers, Justin Hall, been playing really well, been an absolute revelation. We always talk about there's that one receiver that just comes out of nowhere, and this year it was Justin Hall.
Yeah, for sure. And he's got a great first name, so kudos to him.
He's got an okay first name, but for a guy who played at Ball State, was productive all 5 years he played at Ball State, but never really blew up to come in and be productive in the USFL. This is really good for him, and he's a guy who will definitely get a training camp invite. I don't know if he'll stick on an NFL roster. He's kind of undersized at 5'8", 189. But Justin Hall, interesting guy to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I like how they use him in screens and everything. I think an NFL team could use him in like a Cavante Turpin type role even.
Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of the ball, the Generals, that offense just didn't look the same without DeAndre Johnson's running abilities.
No, it definitely didn't. Lauletta is not going to win you many games, I don't feel like. And Darius Victor, 3.8 average isn't bad, but he only had 10 carries, so didn't have a lot of opportunity to get going.
Darius Victor needs to get the ball earlier and more often for the Generals to have a chance. The good news for them, they're currently setting second in the USFL North, and that speaks more just to the level that the North is at right now than anything else.
No doubt.
So looking ahead to this weekend's game, what games are you really looking? What game are you excited for?
I think that Philadelphia and Pitt game, I mean, with Pitt's defense, how they were playing against that Stars offensive line, I really do think the Maulers could feast on Case Cookus and win that game as long as they can get the ball moving a little bit on offense.
Mm.
How
No,
about
I
you?
mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the Stallions and the Breakers. Anytime those two teams play, it is absolute fireworks. Can't miss TV time and time again. I mean, you got to be excited for the Breakers and the Stallions, but also keep an eye on the Showboats and the Gamblers. Just watch the South games. Watch the South games. That's the TLDR of this.
There you go.
So, how are you doing in your fantasy leagues this year, Justin? How are your USFL fantasy teams doing?
Well, in the one I'm in with you, I just beat the undefeated team, gave him his first loss, so I was happy about that.
Nice. Who
And
was
in the other
undefeated?
one,
I don't even remember.
I don't remember either. I know he's got McLeod Bethel Thompson as his quarterback because that's in his team name.
Yeah, you beat the notorious. Are you down with the MBT? There we go.
Yeah, that's it.
Great name.
And then in the other league, we won't talk about it.
That bad. I mean, I'm struggling. I'm 2-4 right now, and it's not working right now for me. It's not working for the commissioner's exempt list.
Who'd you lose to this weekend again?
I imagine I lost to Murr. Now that you're bringing it up, yep, I lost to Murr. Lost to Murr.
Yep.
You know, I mean, a 0 from DeAndre Johnson hurts, and 2 missed field goals from my kicker didn't help anything. And Trey Williams also putting up a goose egg hurts. You know,
yeah,
I'm struggling to find some. And of course, the week I sit Madre London, he goes off. You know, Madre London had been consistently in my starting lineup, and he's on the bench this week. And look at what happens.
You know, every time.
You know, but let me tell you, unlike Madre Williams, you know who is reliable and a great team member? Shady Race. Because Shady Race is teaming up with SGPN for Shady May. Not only do you get amazing 50% off spectacular sunglasses like these, you also have a chance to win $500. Shady Rays has you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, blue light glasses, and much more. Shady Rays has durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they'll send you a new pair, brand new, no questions asked. So if you're like Justin and you're renovating your old limestone retaining wall ridden house with the jackhammer, and you take a limestone chunk to the eyeball and it breaks your Shady Rays, they'll ship it right quick to you in Wisconsin and get you set so you can enjoy your cheese curds on your porch wearing your Shady Rays. If you don't love them, exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. And for our international listeners, our CFL fans, Shady Rays has you covered as well with shipping to Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. Go to shadyrays.com and use code SGPN for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses, blue light glasses, and more. And remember, May is almost over, so make sure to take your receipt to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/shady for your chance to win the $500 Shady May contest. Justin, where are your Shady Rays? It's Shady May.
I know. I apologize. I got my nerd goggles on so I can see
You
better.
could get some wonderful blue light glasses from Shady Rays. I ordered
Yeah.
some pairs today. So shades, Adam, might not be a thing, but blue light glasses, Adam, will be here. Justin, it's time to head north of the border. The time we've all been waiting for. It's time for the Rouge and 3-down football, baby. Justin, CFL preseason kicked off today. How you feeling about the CFL season?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think you and anybody that knows me probably knows I'm a little more excited this year to cheer for the Argonauts. We'll see who their starting quarterback ends up being, but yeah,
Not
I know
Ryan
it's going to
Scott.
be it's going to be another good year.
So, Justin, exciting. Everybody's getting ready to draft their teams. Let's talk. Who are your top 9 CFL quarterbacks right now?
Yeah, are we going 9-1 or what are we doing
Yeah,
here?
let's go 9-1. Let's go 9. Yeah, let's go 9-1. I like that.
All right. Well, number 9, sorry to the corn dog, but I got Taylor Cornelius of Edmonton.
That is egregiously low
I
for
know.
Taylor Cornelius. Egregiously low, my friend. Like,
It's
what?
more it's more the team than him. That team has struggled to find success for years. I foresee that happening again. Therefore, I don't think he's going to have numbers that are popping. So yeah, he's at the bottom there for now.
That is insane. I had Taylor Cornelius at 5.
Whew. Well, that's good. It gives listeners some
I mean,
disagreement
so
here.
so when I look at Taylor Cornelius, okay, when I look at the corn dog last year, 2,700 yards in the CFL in only 12 games. Okay.
Mhm.
So good numbers, completed about 60% of his passes, 11 touchdowns to 9 interceptions for Edmonton. You know, and even the year before, he was good. He was productive. He started 12 games. The year before, he started 8 games, you know, and he's a gamer. And the thing that I like is you're also forgetting he ran for 500 yards last year, Justin. This isn't just throw the ball. This is fantasy football. Konami code 500 rushing yards, about 60 yards a game and 7 touchdowns. Touched over a half a touchdown a game. Egregiously low on Taylor Cornelius. Taylor Corn Dog Cornelius. Because
Well,
he went to Oklahoma State, isn't it?
he's gonna have to run his way up the list because right now I'm keeping him at 9.
I'm keeping him locked in at 5. I can't actually. This is how we need to do it because we're going to be back and forth here, and we'll just do our rankings at the end. So starting with the Edmonton Elks, you have Taylor Cornelius at 9. I have him at 5. Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to change this format up. We're going to make this much more interesting. Okay, what team are we going to next?
Let's go Calgary.
Calgary. All right, so Stampeders, Justin, who's their projected starting quarterback right now? Tell the listeners.
Logan Bonner.
All right, tell us all a little bit about Logan Bonner.
He's not going to have much success. He's 8th on my list. That's all I can tell you.
I mean, Logan Bonner, you know, this is his first year, I believe, as the starter in the CFL, correct?
It is, yes.
You know, guy out of Utah State, you know, didn't necessarily set the world on fire, you know, 6'1". He's okay. Like, he's a quarterback. He's going to throw the ball, I guess, in theory.
In theory,
in
he
theory,
hopes to throw the ball, yes.
that is a hope. You know, and even at Utah State, you know, he had an underwhelming last season at Utah State, only threw for 700 yards. The year that you should be excited about is his 2021 year.
Yeah.
You know, if he can find some of that success where he throw for 3,600, 36 touchdowns and 12 picks in 14 games, I'm excited if I can get that Logan Bonner. But he's a guy who's stepping into, you know, a challenging situation in Calgary, and it's an unclear depth chart because he has some guys behind him who, you know, aren't terrible, like Chris Reynolds and Jake Meyer and Tommy Stevens. You know, I had Logan Bonner at 8 on my list. So
That's where I got him.
you know, we line up right there on the list. So some agreement a little bit. Where we mosey on to next in our west to east journey.
Yeah, let's go. I don't know. Let's go Hamilton, the Ticats.
Ooh, the Ticats.
With a brand new quarterback for
Bo
them,
Levi
anyways.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Quarterbacks with three first names. How do we feel about this?
It's a lot when you're announcing, I suppose.
Yeah, so do they just call him Bo? Do they call him Bo Levy, or do they just say Bo Mitchell?
I don't. It's probably that last one.
And he was
Because of the
previously the
A.
starter for the Stampeders, but
Yeah.
he wasn't even regularly starting for them. He only started 50% of the games for them. And, he had some good years early in his career, 2016, 2017, 2018, but he's really fallen off in recent years. He's a name that people know, but the production hasn't been at the same level.
Yeah, agreed.
Does he
Where do you got
rebound?
him?
Does he rebound this year?
Not that much, I don't think. I got him at 5.
I actually had him at 2 because I do think he rebounds a little bit,
Nice.
because what this Ticats team that I really like is a guy who I've high on my running back rankings, which is James Butler. James
Yes.
Butler was
Yeah.
an absolute monster last year for Hamilton, and with a better quarterback now, they're going to be able to take some of the pressure off of him and put it on Bo Levy Mitchell. And, the receivers, there's some guys who could shake out there. I like Khalil Jet Lewis. I like Calvin Jackson. There's some guys there who have some experience, and they have John Bay Johnson currently listed at 7th on the depth chart, which I think is criminally low because he is a speedster and a guy who can make plays all over the field. So I could really see this Hamilton team sneaking up on some folks. So Bo Levy Mitchell. 2, the big thing where you could talk me into moving down my rankings, he can't run. He's slow and he's old.
He is old. I think he's one of the oldest starting quarterbacks in this league right now.
I
could be
think
wrong,
so
but
as
I think
well.
he is.
So, where are we headed next? Take us through our continued explorations of the Canadian football landscape, Justin.
Well, you mentioned James Butler. Let's go to his old team, BC Lions, who no longer have Nathan Rourke. He decided to be the backup in Jacksonville.
Potentially the backup,
this year.
potentially the third stringer as well.
Well, they have Iowa Hawkeye CJ Beathard, so he probably will be third stringer. So yeah, we got Vernon Adams starting for BC this year.
I mean, when you're looking at Vernon Adams, you're looking at a guy who, again, a little bit undersized, but a guy last year who came to BC partway through the year in a trade with Montreal, and still in 8 games started, put up 1,800 yards, 7 touchdowns to 3 picks. He's a guy who can move the ball, and he has enough athleticism. Ran for just under 200 yards, but you're also talking about a guy who, at his peak in 2019, threw for almost 4,000 yards and 24 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was just going to say, when Rourke got hurt last year, a lot of people thought the Lions would kind of end that big losing streak. They would not continue to be one of the best teams in the league. And Vernon Adams stepped in and did a nice job in Rourke's place. He wasn't Nathan Rourke, but he did enough to keep them relevant in the conversation there. So I'm interested to see what he does with a full year of starting.
I mean, Nathan Rourke was absolutely on a torrid pace last year, averaging over 300 yards a game, 25 touchdowns, 2.5 touchdowns a game, and one pick a game, and some of that's going to be scheme and offense. And Vernon Adams is going to be able to step in and fill that role. The challenge is, again, with, Rourke, he might not be the runner that Rourke was. It's
that's
possible, but
true. Oh, I got him at 4. Where you got him?
I have him at 3, actually. And
3.
the more I'm thinking about these, I think I actually might move him down to 4 and might move Taylor Cornelius up to 3. I'm not locked in. Let's get to the ending here. Where are we headed next in our across the great Canadian road trip?
Let's go to Montreal.
The Alouettes in Quebec. Good fishing in Quebec.
with Cody Fajardo.
Cody Fajardo. Justin, educate our listeners about Cody Fajardo.
Yeah, so he played for Saskatchewan last year. To me, he's an up and down guy. XFL Jim, who was on the pod last week, when he's CFL Jim, he loves him some Cody Fajardo, but he will also agree that he's an up and down quarterback. So for me, I got him at 7th. He's going to have to prove to me that he can do a little bit better than he's shown and be more consistent in order for me to move him up my list. So he's starting at 7 for me.
Justin is over here giving you his pure quarterback rankings as opposed to his fantasy quarterback rankings. Because the thing to know about Justin Fajardo is he runs the ball. He was 357 last year, 468, but the peak year was 2019 Saskatchewan when he ran for 611 and 10 touchdowns. He's a guy with a nose for the end zone, had 8 touchdowns last year. That rushing floor alone should have you targeting Cody Fajardo in your drafts, and actually I have him right now at 6, but as I'm talking through this, I'm going to talk myself into really rearranging some of my rankings because everybody knows by now, give me a mobile quarterback.
True.
Love it. I need to be able to win the game multiple ways if I'm not an elite passer. And a guy like Cody Fajardo can do that if he can hold on to the starting job.
Yeah.
Which is always, always, always the big if.
For sure.
Because he's got Caleb Evans, Davis Alexander, and Mike Klass breathing down his neck. One of those guys could take that job.
Yeah, agreed. I think Caleb Evans, if somebody does it, he takes it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
All right, where are we headed next?
Well, let's go to his old team, the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Oh, everybody's a Rough Rider these days. You like the Rough Riders and the Rough Riders in the playoffs? Oh, yeah. I like the Rough Riders by at least 2 goals. Those of y'all who aren't educated, I highly suggest you go and watch the show Letterkenny on Hulu. 10 out of 10. It will help you understand more of Justin and I's inside jokes.
Why don't you take about 10% off there, Squirrely Dan? Mason Fine. He was a good quarterback out of North Texas. This is going to be his first opportunity starting, I believe, in a professional league. He did play a couple games last year, I believe.
Started 2 games last year for Saskatchewan. Yeah. And threw for 196 and 168 respectively.
Yeah, and this is a guy that after being undrafted, he had a tryout with the Chicago Bears. So you got to say some positive stuff there.
Did he have a tryout or did he get invited to rookie mini camp to throw the ball to guys?
Probably that. But yeah, I like him kind of right in the middle of the pack. So I got him at 6.
I got him at 9. He feels like, and the thing that really sold it to me was I think Saskatchewan's quarterback room is going to be bad because they have Shea Patterson in it. And I watched Shea Patterson for a few weeks last year in the USFL. So if that's the guy where you're like, yes, this dude, if you're like this dude, I don't trust your talent evaluation. I'm going to be honest.
Touche.
So where are we headed next?
Let's go to Ottawa. Rod's team.
Going to the Red Blacks.
Yes, with Jeremiah Masoli, who I think is a hell of a quarterback, just has some injury troubles.
Some really bad injury troubles. Everybody's going to remember Jeremiah Masoli from his days at quarterbacking the Oregon team before heading to Ole Miss. Was a guy who perpetually just felt like he should have done more, but never quite delivered. High expectations, being the guy who he preceded Marcus Mariota, correct? And then Mariota took the job from him at Oregon. That's it. So, big shoes to fill there, and really fallen off here late in his career since the off year in 2020. He had that peak year in 2018 where he threw for over 5,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. But since then, he's fallen back a lot, and he hasn't been running as much in recent years. Only ran for 39 yards last year in 4 games and 1 touchdown. Only played in 4 games last year, averaging about 270 a game, but only 2 touchdowns and 2 picks.
Well, he is 34, so I guess he is the oldest starting quarterback. And if I was a 34-year-old quarterback, I would not like to run as much either.
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, he's a guy who the talent is there on some level, but it's just it's not persisting and it's not going to exist.
yeah, still, I'm bullish on him. I got him at 2. I think I think
We
he's
have
really
some wildly different opinions here. He is at 7 for me.
7. All right.
7.
That's fair. Yeah, I just think he's gonna have a really good year. I think this Ottawa team's gonna finally turn the corner. Um, and I think it's gonna be because of Jeremiah Masoli.
I mean, maybe I can't see it happening. I just don't think he's going to pull it together. But
Alrighty.
where are we headed next?
Let's go to Winnipeg, the Blue Bombers.
The guy who's going to try to replace McLeod Bethel Thompson, or no, not replace McLeod Bethel Thompson. Sorry, I thought McLeod. Forget everything I just said. Zach Collaros.
Yes. Zach Collaros. This team was the best team in the league last year. You could make arguments that BC was right on their level, but every time they played BC, Winnipeg won. So, and a lot of that's because Zach Collaros is a very good quarterback. He's my number one guy. He's doesn't run as often as you would like for your fantasy quarterback, but he throws the ball a lot and he does very well at it. So, yeah, I got him at number 1.
I mean, we're in absolute agreement here. Zach Collaros is the clear and undisputed number one right now. Threw for almost 4,200 yards last year, 37 touchdowns against only 13 picks the year before, almost 3,200 yards, 20 touchdowns to 6 picks. You got to love a guy who puts up numbers like that. He is an absolute beast, slinging it all over the air. And he's experienced, the Cincinnati product. Like you said, a little more statuesque than you want in your fantasy quarterback. But Zach Collaros last year was second in the league in passing yardage and a clear first in passing touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah, and he is statuesque, but their line always seems to be so good that it doesn't matter. He can stand back there all day.
And now last, headed to Toronto.
Yeah.
Who do you have as Toronto's starting quarterback?
I wrote them both down because I know right now it's Chad Kelly, the old man. He's not that old; he's 29. But I think Chad Kelly has never really impressed me. I don't think he's going to go to the CFL and impress me. So I'm rooting for their backup quarterback Brian Scott to take that job. But we'll just see how it goes. Either way, whether it's Chad Kelly or Brian Scott, I think this team, the returning champs, are going to be able to move the ball well. And so I got them at 3, no matter who it is. It's probably weighted more towards Brian Scott being 3, but it's okay. We'll go 3 for both.
I've got Chad Kelly at 4. And unfortunately for you, Brian, I think Chad Kelly's going to hold this job all year because Chad Kelly came in one game last year and threw the ball very well for them, had about 260 yards and 2 touchdowns. Additionally, he brings a lot running the ball. On 25, he averaged 5.5 yards an attempt and ran for 6 touchdowns last year on only 25 attempts.
Yeah.
When he, as a full-time starter, I think he's going to bring a level of mobility that you see be very successful in the CFL. And I think that he's going to be able to hold off Brian Scott because I don't think Brian Scott is that mobile. Brian Scott can't move like Swag Kelly can. And I don't think he has the arm talent that Swag Kelly has, unfortunately.
Oh man, I'm telling him you said that.
Tell him I hope he proves me wrong. I really do. I love Brian. Again, I love Brian, but this is a tough situation for him to be in because he's coming in and Chad Kelly knows the offense already. He was there on the roster last year. He has the talent, he has the ability. Let's just remember he is a guy who has stuck around pretty heavily on NFL rosters. He's been a practice squad guy, but he's a guy who's played at a high level. And at the end of the day, Brian Scott is not played on a high level as Chad Kelly.
Yep. No, I agree.
I love Brian. I wish Brian all the best. I just think he's got an uphill battle right now. And
Yeah.
I don't know. When I look at Brian Scott, this is going to be a Brian Scott heavy take right here. When I look at Brian Scott, I see a guy who could be Luis Perez. I look at them and I think they have similar skill sets.
Such an insult.
I'm sorry. Luis Perez had an all-time spring football run with the Arlington Renegades. And the thing that I come back to is when I think about when I watched Luis Perez in the AAF, this is not the same quarterback I watched when I watched the AAF. And when I look at Brian Scott, I don't know that the guy I saw for the first time in the spring league is different from the guy I saw last year in the USFL. He might have been, but I haven't seen him on the field since.
Right.
And I have to think, like, I'm sure he burned bridges in the USFL and then getting hurt in the X, and then whether he got hurt or whatever in the XFL, you know, not getting a chance in the XFL is tough because he probably would have been better than Brian Hundley. I don't know if he would have been better than Jalen McClendon. Jalen McClendon was an absolute revolution that nobody saw coming. And that's why spring football exists. So if I'm Brian Scott, I'm calling Luis Perez and I'm finding out what I need to do to get to that level. Because if I'm Brian Scott, I have some physical tools. I have the ability to make throws, and I'm able to help people assess talent. I don't know that I'm ever getting to the NFL. And I think that of Luis Perez. I don't think Luis Perez is ever going to go to the NFL outside of Camp Arm.
Right. Agreed.
But he's going to carve out a very nice career as a spring football player. And when he wants to go and coach, I think he's going to be a very successful coach because of the number of playbooks and systems he has worked in. So if I'm Brian Scott, I'm calling Luis Perez and I'm asking him for advice on what I need to do. Because I've lost a quarterback competition now in the XFL. And I don't know if I'm going to win a quarterback competition now in the CFL.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think this is an excellent spot for him because I do think Chad Kelly will start. And Chad Kelly's a guy that's been around in these professional leagues a long time. And I think that's going to help Brian Scott to be able to sit behind a guy like that, be able to be mentored by a guy like that while he's learning this playbook and getting ready for if there happens to be any injury. So definitely get what you're saying. I do think Chad Kelly, even though I joke that whoever it is, I would love to see Brian Scott start. I think this is a perfect spot for him because he gets to be that QB2 and learn and potentially get that growth that you're talking about.
And as I look at this, they do have a very friendly offense. They return a lot of their weapons from last year with Curly Gittins and Markeith Ambles and Tavares Daniels. I mean, they returned 3 receivers who were over 800 yards last year on the season, multiple touchdowns between all those guys who are reliable options. And that's always a good thing to see those kind of guys come back year after year.
Yeah, and they got Brandon Banks, who's had success for a while now in the CFL, and Tanner Gentry, former Chicago Bear. Was always a fan of Tanner Gentry. I guess I didn't even realize he was on their roster, so that's kind of exciting.
And they have Cam Phillips at slot back as well, which should excite everybody. I'm very excited to see what Cam Phillips does again this year. 3 years now into his CFL career. Last year at 38 catches for 515 and 3 touchdowns. He's a guy who we know can produce in a high-powered offense.
For sure.
So, Justin, what are some things that you're looking for as you're building your CFL fantasy roster?
CFL is kind of a different beast because of the it's a different structured game with the slot back and the wide receiver. Obviously you're not going after a tight end, and people kind of associate slot back. Oh, that's like their tight end. It's really not. It's more of a running wide receiver that runs at the line.
It's that slot. It's truly like it's a speed slot. It's not a big slot. It's a speed slot kind of guy.
And so, I tend to lean towards those guys when I'm looking at wide receivers because those are the guys that they're hitting the line at scrimmage already at full speed. It makes them hard to cover. Now, there are some CFL defenders that are very good at it, but Those are the wide receivers that I start targeting first. And yeah, that's kind of the strategy. One of the strategies I go with for wide receivers, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, is there any team that you're really particularly targeting? You want a lot of guys from that offense.
Winnipeg for sure. From their running backs, Brady Olivier and Johnny Augustine, to their wide receivers, they got Rashid Bailey, Drew Wolotarski, Nick Dembski, Dalton Schoen. I mean, and then quarterback Zach Collaros, we already talked about. It seems like any of those guys, they got Kenny Lawler this year too. Any of those guys you go after, I think, are going to put up numbers and help you every week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. CFL drafts open on Alt Fantasy Sports. Lots of exciting times ahead. We're all excited. I know Justin's excited. I know preseason's on the way. Justin, when is first kick for the CFL?
For the regular season?
Yeah.
Oh, let me look it up. Preseason started today, technically, and then
June
the other
8th.
games are this weekend.
June 8th.
June 8th.
That's right. June 8th.
All right.
June 8th and 9th. All
BC and
games on.
Calgary.
Whew. Good game. Good game. Justin, thank you very much for your time as always. Enjoy your cheese curds and enjoy your Badgers. Are they in any of the spring? Are they in any of the World Series tournaments right now?
All of them. I'll just say all of them.
All of them. There we go. You'll meet no bigger Wisconsin Badgers fan than Justin Mark. He's him and Brian Scott's biggest apologist as well. Thank you, Justin, for your time as always. I'm Adam Pelletier, and we will see you next time.
Nova Production.